So in this grammar lesson, we're going to focus in on two types of conjunctions. Now, there are several different kinds of conjunctions, but there are two main ones that are the most important ones to know, and we're going to start our work with those this week. But before we jump into new material, I just want to make sure that we're clear about phrases and clauses. So let's review those definitions. A phrase is a group of words that do not have a subject or a predicate, and they need an independent clause to make them a complete thought, like to the store. To the store is a prepositional phrase. It begins with a preposition and ends with a noun, and it's telling us where someone might be going or something is kept, but it's not complete on its own. It needs an independent clause to make us understand what's happening. And the same thing is true within a positive phrase. So an appositive phrase provides more information about the subject or a noun in our sentence. It could be the subject or it could be the object. But if we're talking about, for instance, my dog, well, okay, which dog? Maybe you're like Mrs. Lawbeck and you have more than one dog. And so we need to know the name of the dog. So my dog, Daisy, and then suddenly we know which dog you're talking about, or my dog, Dorito Chip, or my dog, Chucky. And so that way we know which of those dogs are you referencing if we're writing a sentence about our dogs. Now, clauses are different. Clauses are a little more complete as units of grammar. Independent clauses are complete sentences. They can stand alone. They have everything they need to make sense. So if you just had them by themselves, they would be a complete thought that you could understand. A dependent clause is not complete. It has a subject and a verb, but it can't stand alone as a sentence. It needs more information for it to be considered complete. Now, when we think about conjunctions, okay, and how they work in phrases or clauses, we use different kinds of conjunctions to do different things. A coordinating conjunction is a conjunction that connects words or phrases or sentences together. And we use an acronym, or a word that's made out of the first letter of each of those different conjunctions so that we can remember them more easily. And that acronym is FANBOYS. FANBOYS, as you can see, stands for, and, nor, but, or, yet, and so. And those are the coordinating conjunctions. Now, you can use these to link lots of different things together. It's not just sentences. Sometimes it's phrases. You can use the word and to link together two words like Jack and Jill, but you could also use it to link together phrases or to link together clauses. On your version, I've included this presentation for you. You can click this link and you can listen to Conjunction Junction, and they talk all about hooking up words and phrases and clauses. So check that out. You'll have it stuck in your head all day, but I think it's a really great example of how you use these things. Now, the job of a coordinating conjunction is to join together two parts of a sentence that are grammatically equal. They mean the same thing. Okay, so when we use a fanboy, we are linking two things that are equivalent to each other. So for instance, Jack and Jill. Jack and Jill are both subjects in the sentence. They're both nouns that have equal weight in the sentence. Jack went up the hill and Jill went up the hill. So we can join them together with that coordinating conjunction. The same way we can do that with two independent clauses. The water was warm and I didn't go swimming. We can put them together with a comma and a but and make a complete sentence because they're both equal to each other. Okay. Now, when we're looking at subordinating conjunctions, it's a little different because subordinating conjunctions link dependent clauses to independent clauses. So these things are not of equal weight. A dependent clause is not a complete thought, and an independent clause is. Now you can see here on the screen a lot of the common subordinating conjunctions, and there's also an acronym or a word made out of the first letters of all of these, and it's called AWOOBIS. And so if you remember from the beginning of the year when we talked about conjunctions, back in September, and I know that's a long time ago. We learned an Awubis song, and I linked that for you as well in the folder so you can go back and don't forget Awubis because it's really helpful. Those are the most common. There are even more on this list, but words like although, because, when, those words, since, they can function as subordinating conjunctions, and that will help you right away to identify what's going on in your sentence, that it has that dependent clause and that independent clause. Okay. So the first job of a subordinating conjunction is to provide a transition between two different ideas in the sentence. That could be a transition of time, could be a transition of place, or it could be a cause and effect relationship. Okay, so for instance, Aiden will load the dishwasher once everyone has finished eating. Well, that tells me that it can't happen until after the eating is finished, so that's a time shift, right? So that's important. I searched in the garage where Mom usually hides the presents. It's telling me about that place. Because I love my dogs, I always spend time with them. And again, that's cause and effect. Notice though, if I take any of those pieces where the bolded subordinated conjunctions are, and I keep them separate from the rest of the sentence, my sentence doesn't make sense anymore. Once everyone has finished eating, well, what's going to happen? I don't know. I need more information. And notice also that I could move that to the beginning of the sentence. I could say, once everyone has finished eating, Aiden will load the dishwasher. So that's how we know we're working with a dependent clause. I can move it around in the sentence as a unit, but it can't stand by itself. So that's interesting, right? Think about this. And that third example, if we move the because to the end, I always enjoy spending time with them because I love my dogs. Now the them is tricky because it's confusing if we move the sentence up, but I always love spending time with Dory and Chucky because I love my dogs. Makes a lot more sense. But notice how I can move those things around. And again, that's because of the dependent clause and the independent clause. So it can come at the beginning, it can come at the middle, but always we need that subordinating conjunction to explain the time, the place, or the cause and effect. Now the other thing that the subordinating conjunction does is it reduces the importance of that dependent clause. It makes it clear the main idea is the independent clause, right? That part that can stand by itself. So not only are we going to have to wait until everyone's finished eating, but we know that Aiden is the one that's loading the dishwasher, and so he's the subject of the sentence. His action is the main focus of our sentence because of the independent clause. Now on Schoology, I've loaded for you a quiz to practice these things. I encourage you though to please go and view those two videos, the conjunction junction video and the Awubis song, to help you kind of get all of this in your mind. I know for most of us, this is a review of information that you learned in 7th grade and that we talked about at the beginning of the school year, but sometimes you have to dig it back out. So take some time to review and then go on to Schoology and take the short quiz. If you are struggling with this and you're not sure about conjunctions or about phrases and clauses, I encourage you to reach out to me. I will also be sending some invitations to students to join me in a small group to practice work with phrases and clauses if I notice that you were struggling previously in week 1. So if you are somebody who's in that group, hold off on taking this quiz until we meet and we talk and you have a clearer idea of phrases and clauses so that you can do really well on this and be successful. Have a great week, guys, and I look forward to hearing from you on Schoology Messenger or Google Meet.